Wall Street closes mixed on Friday. The Dow clocked losses while the Nasdaq and S&P 500 eked out minor gains. Stocks in the Asia Pacific opened mixed while the Gift Nifty indicates a gap-up start for the Indian market. Crude sees a sharp surge on Friday. Brent surges up to 4% to $78 a barrel as tensions rise in West Asia. Gold too gains on safe haven buying. The World Economic Forum's annual summit in Davos gets underway today. Speaking to CNBC TV18, World Economic Forum President Borge Brende flags the lack of global cooperation as a big risk and remains concerned over the potential escalation of the Gaza war. He also remains bullish on the India story. The big four of Indian IT beat muted expectations in Q3. HCL Tech leads the pack with 6% revenue growth. Wipro reports a steady quarter and the management says there are green shoots in discretionary spending. Tata Consumer announces the acquisition of Ching's and Smith & Jones brand owner Capital Foods for 5,100 crore rupees. The company will also acquire Organic India for 1,900 crore rupees. Speaking exclusively to CNBC TV18, the management of Tata Consumer says Capital Foods revenue could grow in double digits, while Organic India could grow multi-fold from current levels. Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines that we're tracking this Monday morning. There's lots to talk about. But first up, let's just get a check on what's going on across all of the Asian markets. You're getting pretty mixed cues coming in and there's no big move barring what's going on with the Japanese index. So the Nikkei markets are up over 200 points right now, 215 points in the green. But for the rest of Asia, it's not too much of a cut. You have Hang Seng, which is down around 0.8%, and this slip has come through in the past few minutes actually. The Taiwanese index is holding on with gains, so that's up around 0.3%. You also have some minor gains that you're seeing in the Straits. It's not too much at all, just around 0.25% over there as well. But barring that, most Asian markets in the red. So you have Shanghai, which is in the red, Hang Seng, like we mentioned, in the red as well, and Kospi has also just dipped into the red right now. So very mixed cues coming through from Asia this morning. But let's bring the Gift Nifty up for you because it is indicating that the start for our own markets is going to be in the green and well in the green. 81 points higher is where we're at on the Gift Nifty. So that's what's happening across Asia. But let's also talk about the US market now because Wall Street ended Friday's trading session quite mixed. So we saw the Dow end a little bit in the red. So you had a 118-point cut on the Dow, but the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq managed to close in the green. Now, what really happened on Friday for Wall Street was that there was a slew of big banks which reported earnings. So you had Bank of America post a decline in the fourth quarter profit. So that ended a little bit lower. You had Wells Fargo, which dipped. This is in spite of the fact that they did post a higher profit as well. Meanwhile, sticking with the banks, you had Citigroup, which added just around 1% after announcing that the company is looking to cut 10% of its workforce. So that is what happened as far as the banking stocks go on Wall Street. And this is the action for Friday. But if you look at it for the entire week, then all three indices ended in the green. You had Nasdaq, of course, leading the gains, and that was up around 3.1% for all of last week. That is the action from the US markets. But let's also stick with that and bring you some opinion on what experts make, with respect to their outlook for 2024, as well as how the Fed could move in this coming year. Listen in.
They did expect the path in terms of the moderation of inflation to be a bumpy one, particularly in the first few months of the year. Is it going to be a situation we have to monitor? Absolutely. Are there going to be some puts and takes? Absolutely. And, if you talk to my economists and rate strategy team, they'll tell you they think the market pricing for a March cut is too aggressive at this point. They do expect 5 cuts this year, but they don't think they're going to start off until June because they just don't think the data is going to quite support it until we get to that point in the middle of the year. So I'd say from an RBC perspective, the thesis still seems to be on track, but maybe market pricing is a bit ahead of itself.
All right, that is some important opinion that we're looking at. But let's now talk about all of the cues that you should track from an India market standpoint and all of the stocks that will be in focus today as well, because there's a lot since we've gotten into the earnings season. Let's invite our research team here to help us with the trade setup. We have Ekta and Hormaz joining us right now to take us through what we should be watching. Guys, a very good morning to both of you. Ekta, let me come to you first. We saw another record high on Friday and looks like the start once again is going to be well in the green.
Morning. Well, yes, the sensex and the Nifty hit record highs on Friday's trading session, which was really led by the rally that we saw in IT stocks. We had the Nifty, which crossed 21,900 for the first time intraday. We had the Nifty, in fact, gaining for the 4th consecutive day. Now, the big four IT majors have beaten muted expectations. So HCL Tech and Wipro are going to be reacting to Q3 numbers. If you just glance through brokerage notes, most of them have raised their target prices on both of them. Now, in terms of other result reactions, we did see good numbers from Just Dial as well as Avenue Supermarts. So maybe the street is going to take cognizance of the fact that earnings has probably started on a positive note, and hence that is going to lead the markets higher despite all of the global cues which are quite tentative. So in terms of results today, just want to point that out. We have the likes of Geo Financial as well as Angel One, which will be reporting. So that will be important to watch. Now, in terms of the macro front as well, the India CPI came in at a 4-month high, but it was lower than our poll. Similarly, for the November IIP, it was impacted by Diwali and hence came in at around 2.4%. Now, overall for the global markets, the Dow closed more than 100 points lower. Like you pointed out, it was a weak session for the banks. Asia is mixed at this point in time. We had crude, which jumped up on Friday's trading session. The US military has struck another Houthi-controlled site when it comes to the Red Sea, and hence there is some amount of trepidation on that. But it seems as though the markets are completely unperturbed as of now. We're probably just about focusing on earnings. We're probably going to be focusing in terms of what the elections could throw up. And, at least in the near term, it would be in terms of domestic cues, maybe even the interim budget. Now, FII's net sold 340 odd crores, DII's net bought over 2,900 odd crores. And as you can see, it seems as though the domestic institutions are really stepping up when it comes to our markets in terms of purchases. And that seems to be supporting our markets as well. Seems like a good start, at least for the Indian markets.
All right, good start. Let's see how things move from there. Ekta, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those cues. Let's also talk about all of the stocks. Hormaz is here with that list. Hormaz, another big day for big tech.
It was IT on Friday. It might be IT today as well. That might lead the Nifty towards 22,000. And as Ekta mentioned about both Wipro and HCL Tech, Wipro's ADR was up 17% on Friday. But the more important thing to note is the management commentary, where the CEO, Thierry Delaporte, mentioned about the reports on the rifts with the management, and he said that they are aligned with the board on both targets as well as achievements for the company. And he also mentioned that they are seeing green shoots in discretionary spending. That is something to need to watch out for. HCL Tech, where the constant currency growth was the best among its peers, but it has trimmed the upper end of its guidance for FY24, but the margin guidance has been retained. Now, the big deal for today is Tata Consumer Products, and it is going to acquire 100% stake in Capital Foods for 5,100 crore rupees. It is also going to acquire Organic India in a 1,900 crore rupee deal, and the board is going to meet on the 19th of January to consider a fundraising proposal. eMudra has launched a QIP, where the sources have told CNBC TV18 that the indicative issue price is 422 rupees, which is a 9.5% discount to Friday's closing price, and the company is seeking a dilution of up to 6.1% equity post the QIP. Anant Raj has also launched a QIP. It's looking to raise around 500 crore rupees, and the issue price here, according to sources, is set to be 296 rupees, which is a 4.8% discount to the floor price. And also, Anant Raj also featured in CNBC TV18's dealing room chatter on Friday. BHEL, the reports have been going around for a while. It is finally official that it has won that 1,500 crore order from NLC India, and the project is likely to be commissioned in 64 months. And lastly, Lupin, which has won a US FDA approval for a drug used in the treatment of hypertension. Back to you.
All right, so there's a lot of action in these individual names. Hormaz, thanks a lot for filling us in with all of that weekend's worth of action. But let's also talk about cues from the futures and options space. We have Nigel here with that. Nigel, looks like an 80-point gap up at the open, but take us through what we should watch as well.
Well, it seems like Nifty is set to hit 22,000 odd mark, and that could be a possibility just going by what the Gift Nifty is suggesting, going by the cues as well that we have. Now, if you look at Friday's trading session, it was a good one. The Nifty Bank, there were some shots that got covered out. Yes, the Nifty Bank has been a bit of an underperformer, but these are first signs to say that close on 10% open interest lower, and the Nifty Bank ended higher as well, telling you there was some short covering on the Nifty Bank. But we keep talking about the IT as well as the banking names. But Reliance Industries, that's as good as an index itself. And if you look at what happened in the past week, yes, the Nifty ended with some gains, but just take a look at Reliance Industries. That was up close to around 6%. And it seems the street is bidding up the stock. There is some anticipation going ahead. Big delivery-based buying, massive volumes as well. And that one clearly has been holding one end up. But if the Nifty needs to hold above the 22,000 odd mark, you'll have Reliance Industries that seems to be in a good spot. IT as well seems to be doing pretty well, and it'll have this tailwind of these results as well. But the Nifty Bank, can it go ahead and conquer the 20 DMA? That's the most crucial factor today, and the bulls will set its sights on this particular level. That's up for you on the screen. We're only 150, 160 points away from these levels, but you want the Nifty Bank to go ahead and conquer this level. What are the FIs positioning? Well, they didn't change too much in terms of the open interest. So they continue to remain net long with close to around 63% of their positions on the long side. On the option side, 21,700, 21,800 put, both of them did see a fair bit of open interest. And now you have the PCR that's moved to the upper end of the range. So that's sometimes a word of caution when you see the PCR move to around 1.5. And the Nifty ended higher, but the India VIX as well moved up. So that's another word of caution. The Gift Nifty, though, suggests we're going to open up well in the green. Back to you.
All right, let's see if we sustain at those higher levels. Nigel, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those details in terms of the cues that we should watch. But with that, we are going to get into our first break on the show. When we return, like we told you, Tata Consumer has announced the acquisition of Ching's and Smith Jones brand owner Capital Foods, as well as Organic India. We're going to bring you all of the details, as well as a word from the management on the other side. Welcome back. You're still tuning to Power Breakfast. Let's talk about Tata Consumer now, because that company has really gone on a shopping spree and announced the acquisition of Ching's and Smith & Jones brand owner Capital Foods. This is for 5,100 crore rupees. The company has also acquired packaged teas and herbal products maker Organic India for around 1,900 crore rupees. Speaking exclusively to CNBC TV18 after the announcement, Sunil D'Souza, the MD and CEO of Tata Consumer, told Mangalam that they are expecting high double-digit growth from the Capital Foods acquisition over the next few years. Listen in.
From a brand perspective, now with these two coming in, I have all the cuisines to appeal to the Indian consumer. The Sampan appeals to the Indian taste, Smith & Jones is Western, and Ching's Secret, I would say, right now it is mostly Desi Chinese, but can probably go Oriental. So I've covered the entire plethora of cuisines that an Indian, typical Indian would have, and that plays perfectly. From strategically made sense. I can say that we are going to grow aggressively on the top line. Define aggressive as high, strong, double-digit growth, right? And EBITDA would be significantly accretive to our portfolio. So we would see a significant increase in the EBITDA margins for ourselves. I would say significant change in the growth trajectory of TCPL with these brands and EBITDA accretive. 400 basis points from trade margin is a given, because that we know the number from this thing. The integration team now will go to every single minute detail and then draw up the map. We do expect significant amount of synergies to come out, given that they were, as I said, they were operating subscale.
All right, that's just a snippet, but you can catch excerpts of that full and exclusive conversation with the MD and CEO of Tata Consumer Products all day right here on CNBC TV18. So remember to stay tuned for that. But with that, let's also move on and talk about the important earnings that have come through from the IT pack. First up, HCL Tech reported a good set of third quarter earnings. Both revenue and margin came in higher than what the street was penciling in. In fact, the company reported top of the pack growth with a constant currency revenue growth of around 6%. This is versus the estimate that the street had of 4% revenue growth. HCL Tech narrowed its revenue guidance, so that is now at 5 to 5.5%. What they had earlier was 5 to 6%. This is for FY24. For EBIT margin guidance, that has been retained at 18 to 19%. So that is on HCL Tech. Moving on, you also had Wipro, which posted third quarter earnings, again beating what was expected. Of course, the expectations were quite muted, but it came in higher than that. Margins came in at 16%, better than what the street was penciling in. Dollar revenue fell by over 2% compared to the last quarter. However, the decline was less than what was really expected from Wipro. What's positive is that the Wipro CEO Thierry Delaporte also told CNBC TV18 that the management was aligned with the board on the targets and achievements. In fact, the Wipro ADR is up around 17% even now. Wipro anyway saw a 4% rise on Friday, and just the stock move on Friday. And right now the ADR is up almost 17%. So that is going to be a big day for big tech coming up. But with that, we're going to get into a break now. There's lots more news and developments that we're tracking on the other side. Stay tuned.
We're walking down the promenade in Davos. This is essentially the high street, the main street. This is where companies from around the world set up shop for this week to showcase what is on offer. A lot of the buzz continues to be around technology companies. On the promenade, if you see, of course, lots of Indian companies, largely tech companies, whether it's Wipro, HCL Tech, Cognizant, Infosys, TCS, all being represented here and jostling for space and attention, along with the big boys of tech from Meta to Accenture, Cisco, Intel, Salesforce, everyone here on this mile down pretty much the heart of this town, which is where world leaders, business leaders are going to be congregating. Over 300 top leaders from around the world will be here, along with thousands of other delegates, jostling for attention and time through this week here in Davos.
All right, we're going to get you a lot of interesting conversations and all of the special coverage from Davos. In fact, World Economic Forum's President Borge Brende says that he is slightly more optimistic about economic growth globally. Speaking to Shireen, he also says that concerns about wars escalating still remain, but he adds that India will be among the fastest growing large economies in this year. Listen in.
We have a large Indian delegation. In fact, the promenade has pretty much been taken over by India, whether it's government, state governments, or corporate India. What's the mood on India in 2024?
One word, bullish, still. India, in our view and from the World Economic Forum, is going to be the fastest growing of the large economies also this year. I have used this analogy about the snowball. So if you start with the snowball on top of this mountain, even if it's that small, it starts to roll, it goes faster and faster and gets bigger and bigger. And this is what now is happening in India, going from a $3 trillion US dollar economy to a $10 trillion dollar US economy in the years to come, provided, of course, that the reforms do continue, that education is a priority, making sure also that red tape and good governance is at the top of the agenda. I think there is big suspense related to some of the elections. I think especially a lot of business leaders follow the elections in the US. That's the largest economy in the world still, 25%. And we know there are a lot of policy changes possibly anticipated if there is a change in the presidency. I'm positive on the global economy in the sense that we could have been in a global recession, and it seems like there's going to be a soft landing for the economy. If we can get back more close to global trend growth of 3.8%, that's also important for eradicating poverty and creating prosperity moving forward.
All right, that is the word coming in from the World Economic Forum president. But as we wind down on the show, let's also bring you some important macro cues that we are tracking this morning. Inflation accelerated marginally by 5.69%. This is for the month of December. This was a pleasant surprise, and the reading was well below what the street was expecting this time around. On the other hand, if you look at the industrial output, that slowed a little bit to 2.4%. This is for the month of November because the manufacturing sector saw growth of just around 1%. So that is why you got a bit of a muted reading as far as the IIP data goes. With that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast. We leave you with the news that the Asian markets are pretty mixed, but the Gift Nifty is indicating a big gap up. Let's see if we hit that 22,000 level or not today. Thanks for tuning in. We have Bazaar Morning Call on the other side.